Welcome. I'm so glad you could stop by today. Please come on in and be our guest. I'm so glad you're here in this beautiful sunny day, and you can see one of the great achievements of Mary Craig, which was in a very small, modestly sized house to create rooms which seem like they are completely surrounded by light.
Welcome to the Pearl Chase Historic Home Tour for 2021. The Pearl Chase Society is an all-volunteer, not-for-profit conservancy dedicated to the preservation and protection of Santa Barbara County's historic architecture, landscapes, and the values as reflected in the art of the built environment. With the indomitable spirit of our namesake, the Society embarks upon a new era to address the challenges of our current health crisis. The Historic Homes Tour has become a well-known community event for the past 18 years. In striving to meet our mission, this year's Historic Home Tour is reimagined to include the urban area encompassing 2 historic homes on the Plaza Rubio and extending to the Mission Santa Barbara. We hope to bring a new awareness, insight, and understanding to those who know and support the Society's work.
We begin our look at this area with the Santa Barbara Mission, the centerpiece of a well-known urban space that defines the city. The Revolutionary War had come to an end in 1786, and the young nation struggled with post-independence internal rebellions and Indian wars as the founders assembled to draft a constitution. The 10th mission was founded on December 4th, the feast day of St. Barbara, who is also the patron saint of architects. The mission is sited on a rise with views of the Pacific Ocean over 2 miles away and the Santa Ynez Mountains behind. This location also aided farming, as it's above the prevalent coastal fog. To protect the mission and their interests, the Presidio was built 4 years earlier and staffed with a garrison of 6 Spanish soldiers halfway between the mission and the seashore. The mission complex took almost 50 years to construct. The church we know today is marking its 200th year since completion.
I'm Stephen Harvey, and I've had the great good fortune to live here in Santa Barbara on Plaza Rubio since 1989. I'm an architect, and it's a great honor to be the steward of this wonderful place. Bernard Hoffman and his wife, Irene Botsford, arrived in 1919 and were leaders of a movement to encourage the creation of Hispanic image of rural Andalusia, what Hoffman referred to as the city in Spain. The 1920s were a period of urban expansion in Santa Barbara when the development of unoccupied land and the last pieces of the rural setting of the Mission Santa Barbara occurred. The 400 block of Plaza Rubio is an early achievement of urban planning and design in the city. On the corner is the largest and most complex of the 5 Mary Craig houses on the block. The house's original owner was the Robert Lewis family for many years. The house is now a City of Santa Barbara structure of merit. Please enter, and we'll have a tour of the interior. These are 3 watercolors I've done over the years of the great Santa Barbara County Courthouse. You see the dining room straight ahead, and now we take a right and go into the rather grand beamed living room. And this room is identical to one in the other house at the other end of the block. It's one of the few interior spaces of any of these houses that has height and grandeur. Generally speaking, the scale of the houses is fairly modest. However, one of the remarkable achievements of Mary Craig was to create rooms which have exposures on at least two, and in the case of this room, really four sides, bringing in natural light on all sides. You see the view out the window to the gateway of the private Plaza Junipero Serra, an original gated community in Santa Barbara. The gates remain always open now. And then when you look back, you can see the stair leading upstairs. And one of the other great features of Mary Craig's design is the way the rooms all interconnect from one to another, and how you have a sense when you're in any one part of the house of the spaces beyond. So not only do you see the stairs inviting you to go upstairs, but over here you have a view back out to the courtyard through which we entered.
Much of the history recorded and repeated about Santa Barbara features men, European explorers, mission fathers, Mexican governors, and Yankee entrepreneurs. Our tour today will include women whose vision and spirit shaped Santa Barbara. Pearl Chase moved to Santa Barbara at the age of 12, graduating from Santa Barbara High in 1904. Upon returning to Santa Barbara after graduating from the University of California, Berkeley in 1909, she was appalled at the state of her hometown. She wrote, "I was ashamed of the dirt and dust and the ugliness, and at that time resolved to devote my life to making Santa Barbara beautiful." While she did have a significant influence on the Santa Barbara architecture, Chase never held political or government office. She had a large part in recasting Santa Barbara architecture in the Spanish colonial style and was an advocate for the protection of multiple local landmarks. Historian Walter A. Tompkins summarized her influence on the city by saying, "She did more to beautify her adopted hometown of Santa Barbara than any other individual."
Margaret Forsyth Andrews and her friend Carolyn Hazard determined that a park setting and modest Spanish wall of small homes on Plaza Rubio should be the only development facing the mission. Mrs. Andrews selected Mary McLaughlin Craig to complete the design of Plaza Rubio in the Spanish colonial revival style that she was already known for. Mrs. Andrews signed an agreement to construct 4 homes for a total of $36,374, which were published for sale in June 1926. In the late 1800s and early 1900s, the Hazard family residence adjacent to the mission, named Mission Hill, was the center of cultural life in the community. Carolyn Hazard, who at age 43 became the 5th president of Wellesley College, spearheaded a drive to purchase the nearly 8-acre parcel of land south of the mission from Laguna Street north to Alameda Padre Serra. Carolyn Hazard and Margaret Andrews solicited private donations starting in 1925 from civic leaders, including philanthropist Dwight Murphy. The City Council agreed to partner in the purchase of the land for $37,000. The 2 women each contributed $10,000 towards the acquisition, and by 1935, a total sum of $53,000, including interest, was finally paid in full, and a master plan for the park was approved in 1940. Carolyn never married or had any children, and died in 1945 at Mission Hill. The 2 Hazard family homes became part of the Mount Calvary Monastery retreat house. In 1954, at the suggestion of Pearl Chase, the park that Carolyn and Margaret conceived was renamed Mission Historical Park.
The street is named after a prominent member of the mission's Franciscan community. Father Jose Gonzalez Rubio was a guiding presence at Santa Barbara Mission. One of the great features of the original urban design of Plaza Rubio is its slight curvature. And you can see that it curves up towards the hill, embracing, in a sense, the mountains and the mission and the garden. The other feature that's very key is the way the houses form a wall, creating a boundary to the Mission District. But then there are variations in that wall and variations in each house. You see here the house, the third house along, was built in the 1990s. Originally, there was a garden here, which was said to have been designed by garden designer Lockwood DeForest, which was part of this house. In 1989, my family and I were fortunate to be able to buy a house on this coveted Plaza Rubio. More recently, my partner, Kritsada Buajud, known to us as Day, and I have collaborated on the transformation of these two houses. Indeed, what you will see is every bit and even more his creation than mine.
The era of the California missions brought a rustic image of European architecture to California. Many of these buildings, houses, and churches continue with us today. The buildings of this era are sometimes labeled as mission style, whitewashed adobe walls with tile roofs, arcades with deep-set doors and windows, and exposed wood ceilings. Under the design direction of the Franciscans, local indigenous Chumash Barbareños used local materials at hand. Typically, a mission complex had large courtyards with tall adobe walls and were built around patios that contained fountains and a garden. The Santa Barbara Mission is the only one with a classical facade, however primitively rendered. The Franciscans borrowed from the pattern books of Palladio and Vitruvius and reflected Roman and Greek temple architecture, that is, columns supporting a patterned entablature with an accompanying triangular pediment decorated with moldings. Of all the California missions, only the Mission Santa Barbara has twin matching bell towers. This design element is restricted to and signifies a cathedral, which was established in 1833.
Let me tell you a little bit about the process which took place for now going on 5 years ago in 2016, when, after living in the house for several decades, we realized that a major renovation was really necessary because most of the systems dated back to the original 1925-1926 construction period. So the process that we entered into was really like building the house again from the inside out. As many of the original features, things like maids' rooms, butlers' pantries, and small closets, no longer suited, small bathrooms as well, no longer suited our predilections for life in the beginning of the 21st century. Okay, well, let's now go on our visit through the house. The original drawings showed us that there was, in fact, a stair through this door down to the basement. The then owners of the house decided, wouldn't it be nice to have a bathroom here, right near the front door? So they eliminated the stair. There was no convenient access to the basement. Now it was really wonderful that from the throne you had this view of the mission. Of course, you were in the view too. So the first objective of our work and our architect's work was to figure out how to get rid of this bathroom, where to relocate it. And so if you stay tuned for that, you'll see that in a moment. Come here into the dining room. The original dining room actually had a wall right here that went along. And so it was a rectangular room, a little bit cramped, a little bit dark. It did have these two the French doors and the windows. So the first thing we decided was to open it up, to remove that wall. And then here in what is now a completely open kitchen, open to the dining room. Originally, there was a kitchen, small kitchen here. There was a pantry and a series of closets here. There was a wall. And then there was a maid's room with a small bathroom. So our plan ended up being able to take out all of these things, open it up, provide much bigger windows on the back because we could make modest changes, and to create where the kitchen had been a small, informal breakfast dining area. We did add a new ceiling. So this beamed ceiling that you see with integrated lighting was inspired by a palazzo in Venice that we saw during the period of design, and we decided it would be nice to have that essentially to unify this whole space. We decided to relocate the bathroom, the powder room, here in an area which was originally just an outside utility space for trash bins. You can see through the window we still have that area, it's just smaller. And one of the things that inspired us was the Casa del Herrero, the house of the blacksmith in Montecito, designed and built at just the same time, 1925, as this house was. And it had a wonderful tiled powder room next to the entrance with similar miner's lamps to these, and we found ones just like it in an antique shop in York Harbor, Maine, and these very colorful tiles, which were originally made in Tunisia and are still made today. So we recreated many of the aspects of rich color and tile decoration from the Casa del Herrero.
Following the disastrous 1925 earthquake, the Franciscans offered to sell a 7.8-acre parcel of land to the city, and the council agreed to purchase the land in 1928. Today, the park has several remnant elements of the mission's water system, including aqueducts, 2 reservoirs, a filter house, and a grist mill. It also includes a rose garden, a fountain, hiking trails, a variety of sycamore and native oak trees. The A.C. Postel Memorial Rose Garden was initiated in 1955 with a donation of 500 pedigree rose bushes. Today, the garden holds over 1,500 plants and is a recognized competitive demonstration rose garden.
So we're very fortunate to have in our collection a lot of watercolors by an artist who's a good friend of ours, Wendy Arton, who works in Rome. And this is a few that she did a few years ago of Hadrian's Villa outside of Rome. And then we're very fortunate to have a collection of portraits of a family. The father, over on the other wall, is his wife, and in the living room is their daughter. These date from 1839. They're my great, many times great, I can lose count, of the Powell family from St. Louis. And here we have a portrait of my father, William Harvey, as a 3-year-old when they were traveling in Switzerland. And we even have this costume, which my stepmother found in an attic and is now preserved as well. Some of the furniture here is 17th and 18th century English, all gathered over the years by my husband Day and brought here, and we're very fortunate to have it. This lamp came also from the same antique dealer in Maine, but the shade we found in Rome and carried back with us after one of many trips. Let's continue our journey up the stairs. More tile from the Casa del Herrero. The stair is exactly original, so all we had to do was replace the tile risers. Originally there was a wall here, and there was a small bathroom here, capturing the best view of the mission. Bathtub was right here, and this window was usually hidden by the shower curtains, so we didn't get to enjoy that view. And during construction, we had the revelation that if we eliminated this bathroom, then we could create this little sitting room at the top of the stair, bringing light, again, from both sides, flowing down the stair into the entry hall. Meanwhile, we have our greatest work of the artist Wendy Arton, which is a bas-relief from ancient Greece, I believe it is. And she works in this incredibly, almost photorealistic way, just using one tone in a way that's at the same time spontaneous, but also incredibly detailed. So now, let's see where that bathroom ended up. So this was a guest room. You can see that the rooms are not very large. In fact, these are even miniaturized beds, scaled perhaps more for a child, 4-poster beds, also from England. But so this was a small room, but again, it has exposures on 3 sides, going onto a little balcony. So the bathroom ended up being relocated down to this corner, and it allowed us to eliminate a closet here, create this arch, move the closet into here, put some lights on for you, and then all the way through on an axis to have yet another view captured of the mission. Now this room was originally a small sitting room, a small den, so we moved that function over to the top of the stair. And here we have a little display of our family portraits. These sorts of things usually end up on the grand piano in the living room, but here we have them in a more private location. My parents, my grandparents from both sides, and some old books, I think there. And then we have one of 2 cedar-lined closets here. And in this room, some cherished objects are this jade lamp from my grandparents, a still life of roses by the Newport-based artist Jane Timken, an old Buddha image to whom we give daily offerings. And over here, another watercolor by Wendy Arton of the Tholos at Delphi. So we'll give you a little preview of adventures to come. There's a garden in the back with a pool structure, which was originally built by the previous owners to create shade for an orchid garden. This is a composite watercolor that I did actually over the last 20 years of the Pantheon in Rome, capturing a series of snapshot views that I collaged together. This is the master bedroom, and interestingly enough, this is the only room that had minor changes. And in fact, it's where our site superintendent with the contractor set up his office while the rest of it was being demolished and changed and rebuilt again. And as we follow around, we get another view out to the garden and yet another room that is blessed with 2 exposures. And one can step out onto the balcony and actually have a view of the sea in the distance. And it's a nice blue day. You can see the blue ocean. Sometimes we see sailboats sailing out there. So the master bath actually was originally the master bath in the previous iteration of the house. We used the same theme of 20s, 30s style tile with these wonderful full round black accents, which are still available today. So let's have a visit to the backyard. When we bought the house, the yard was characterized by 4 major plantings: a palm tree, this giant bird of paradise, there was an oleander in the corner, and there was a citrus tree over here, and a lawn throughout. And that was, of course, the first drought. So we decided to eliminate the lawn entirely and replace it with this bouquet canyon stone. The other great feature of this yard, as I mentioned from upstairs, was the existing pergola, which we used to be a place to insert a small lap pool. And then if you come over here, this is a favorite spot to spend the late afternoon or evening, where sitting down from this bench you discover the other great aspect of Plaza Rubio, which is the wall of houses essentially shelter this hidden world, and one garden leads to another, and we're the beneficiary of a great borrowed landscape going all the way up the hill to the Riviera, with the light striking these grand eucalyptus trees and layers of the Santa Barbara stone walls. So this is a very magical place that is hidden to most people. So I'm glad that you are able to experience it today. So this room is where we spend a lot of time in the evenings, and it's filled with English furniture. This is something we're quite proud to have found. This is the famous Noel Sofa. That's Noknole. And you may remember them, for those of you who've viewed Downton Abbey. They're 2 big red ones in the Grantham's home. And one of the things that's interesting about it is it's adjustable. It's a little bit like a modern day Barca-lounger. You can lower this if you want to take a snooze. You simply adjust the cord so that it's held in place. And these were, we have one upstairs, which you may have seen. These were lovingly and skillfully reupholstered and restored by Raoul here in Santa Barbara, Raoul Upholstery on State Street. The settee by the window is also English, as are the tables and chests. And then finally, I'd like to call your attention to the other end of the room, where we have a very early 19th century Regency style settee in the style of Sir John Soane. And there's a very similar piece very similar to this in the John Soane Museum in London. John Soane was a very important architect of that period, and we actually found the same restorer to restore our sofa, which was not nearly in this beautiful condition when it first came to this place. These two portraits were found at auction from a great English estate. They're labeled Van Dyck, but we're pretty sure they're copies, and we're sure that they're probably originally were bigger, maybe standing portraits of two young boys. And this is the daughter, another one of my grandparents from the Powell family in St. Louis. Below her is a bust of my father. So it's really been my privilege to welcome you all here today, and I hope when these times of virtual experiences give way to actual experiences in the real world, you'll be able to come and pay a visit in person. Let's look forward to those times. Thank you very much.
Mary Craig's work at Plaza Rubio received extraordinary civic recognition. Photographs of the first 4 houses were published in the Morning Press in Santa Barbara in January 1926 as first prize winners of the newspaper's photographic competition. Neither Carolyn Hazard nor Mary Craig were formally trained in their areas of expertise, although Carolyn received 6 honorary doctorates during her lifetime, and Mary was acknowledged as an important California architectural designer. The chemistry of female designer and developer Margaret Forsyth Andrews also proved to be most effective. In her male-dominated field, Mrs. Andrews won high praise and received an award in 1926 for the best example of civic and commercial architecture erected in Santa Barbara. Plaza Rubio is now a branch of the El Pueblo Viejo Landmark District in Santa Barbara. Margaret Andrews served as a member of the City Planning Commission in 1931 until her death in August 1932. Some member of Mrs. Andrews' family has lived on Plaza Rubio since 1926. She was a visionary and early advocate of land planning. These 3 brilliant and influential women, Margaret Forsyth Andrews, Carolyn Hazard, and Mary McLaughlin Craig, were instrumental in the development of this iconic neighborhood of Santa Barbara. And it is not surprising that Pearl Chase, Bernard Hoffman, and Dwight Murphy were their colleagues in the movement for Santa Barbara's Renaissance.
All right, I want to thank you all for joining us today on this virtual tour. I know the present time is trying for a lot of families out there, but I want to stress how much we appreciate you becoming a part of our family, of the society. Information on these homes today has been gathered from many city, county, and private sources. Our older buildings, civic and private, constitute a living record of the history of Santa Barbara. To lose one of them is to lose a piece of that history, which drawings, photographs, and words cannot duplicate. The Pearl Chase Society is dedicated to preserving the built environmental history. We hope you have enjoyed today's inside look at living with historic homes, and we invite you to become a member of the Society. Please visit us at www.pearlchasesociety.org.